All right, let's just jump right in. We're not talking about some get-rich-quick fantasy today. No, this is about the real deal, a practical step-by-step guide to actually achieving financial independence. And it's all based on strategies that you can actually use in the real world. Okay, so picture this for a second. On one side, you've got this massive, multi-crore stock portfolio, and on the other, you're driving a pretty basic Tata Nexon. Now, that might sound kind of weird, right? But it's not a contradiction at all. It's a very deliberate choice. It's actually the cornerstone of a retirement plan where financial freedom and flexibility are way more important than any fancy status symbol. And that right there gets us to the heart of it all, what I call the paradox of wealth. See, the real secret to retiring early isn't about landing some insane salary. It's actually about smart spending and, crucially, getting a handle on what's called lifestyle inflation. You know what I'm talking about, that thing where the more you earn, the more you spend. It's a trap that keeps you on the hamster wheel, always needing more, forever. This really gets to the why of it all. I mean, what's the point? It's not just about piling up a bunch of money for the sake of it. The real goal, the prize, is a life of choice. A life where you're not constantly stressed about money, where you have the freedom to live wherever you want, work on what you want. That's what we're aiming for here.
Okay, so if this kind of freedom is what everyone wants, why is it that so few people actually get there? Well, there's a really simple framework that explains this perfectly, and it shows us exactly where most people go wrong. It's called the 99-1 rule.
Now, this rule pops up in a lot of different areas, but man, in personal finance, it is spot on. Just look at this. A whopping 90% of people fall into the ineffective savers category. Now, they might be putting money aside, which is great, but they're sticking it in places like fixed deposits. And the problem is, those things just don't grow fast enough to build real wealth over the long haul. So, that brings up a really important question, right? Let's say you do an amazing job saving, and you pile up, I don't know, a crore. Isn't that enough? Shouldn't you be set for life? Well, there's a hidden threat lurking in the shadows, something that most people just completely underestimate. And that threat, it's the silent killer of your savings. Real inflation. Look, the official numbers the government puts out, maybe 6 or 7%, that's not the whole picture, not even close. Think about the stuff that really matters. Good healthcare for your family, quality education for your kids. The costs for those things are skyrocketing, sometimes over 14% every single year. That's the number that can wreck your plans. And if you want to see just how devastating this is, just look at this. Let's say you've got that 1 crore today. Even if we use a pretty conservative 7% inflation rate, in just 10 years, the actual buying power of your money is slashed in half. It's only worth 50 lakhs. Fast forward 20 years, you're down to just 25 lakhs. Your hard-earned savings are literally getting vaporized while you sleep. So that's the challenge. It's a pretty big one. How in the world do you fight back against that? Well, this is where we get to the solution. And thankfully, it's not some super complicated thing. It's a simple, clear formula that just cuts through all the noise of retirement planning.
So what is it? What's the magic number? What's that one single growth rate that your entire investment portfolio needs to hit every year, not just to keep its head above water against inflation, but to actually pay for your life in retirement?
The number is 10%. That's it. That's the target. You need to aim for an average annual return of 10% across your entire portfolio. If you can hit that, early retirement stops being a dream and starts becoming a mathematical certainty.
But where does that 10% number come from? It's actually really simple when you break it down. It has 2 jobs. The first 6% is just for defense. Its only job is to fight off inflation just to make sure your money holds its value. The other 4%, now that's the good part. That's the money you actually get to live on.
And that 4% is what finance folks call the 4% rule or a systematic withdrawal plan. It's the amount of money you can safely pull out of your nest egg every single year without ever running out. So, to put it simply, if your retirement corpus is 1 crore, this rule says you can safely take out 4 lakh rupees year after year to cover all your expenses.
Okay, so we've got our target, 10%. The big question now is, how do you actually build an investment portfolio that can hit that number reliably year after year? This is where we need to talk about structure. Now, a huge mistake a lot of people make is they just go all in on stocks and mutual funds. And I get it, that's where the growth is. But the problem is volatility. The market goes up and down like a roller coaster. Just imagine, what if the market tanks by 40% right when you need to pull out money to pay your bills? You'd be forced to sell your investments at a massive loss, and that can destroy your entire plan.
The smarter way to do it is with a two-portfolio strategy. Think of it like having two buckets. Your growth bucket is filled with things like stocks, and its job is to aim for those higher returns, maybe 12 to 15%. But then you have a stability bucket. This one is filled with things like rental properties or bonds. Its job is to provide a steady, reliable cash flow, maybe 6 to 8%. So that when the stock market is down, you can live off this income without having to sell your growth assets at a bad time.
So what does this actually look like? Well, for that growth bucket, low-cost index funds are a fantastic place to start. For the stability bucket, you could look at income-generating real estate. And I want to be really clear here. I'm talking about a commercial property or a rental flat, not the house you live in. Your home is not an investment in this context. And for that stability side, government bonds are usually a much better bet than fixed deposits.
All right, let's pull all of this together into a concrete plan. We've talked about the why, that goal of freedom. We've talked about the math, that 10% target, and we've talked about the strategy, the two-bucket portfolio. Now let's get to the how. Here is a simple 4-step action plan you can literally start today to begin building your own path to freedom.
Okay, step 1. Start saving at least 10% of your salary, right now, and then try to bump that up a little bit every 6 months. Step 2. If you're new to this whole investing thing, just start with simple index funds. It's the easiest way to get in the game. Step 3. Be intentional. Actually divide your investments into that growth bucket and that stability bucket. And finally, step 4, and this is a big one. You have to sit down and actually calculate your personal retirement number.
And that last step brings us to maybe the most important point of this whole conversation. There is no one-size-fits-all magic number. Your retirement goal is totally, 100% unique to you. It all depends on the kind of lifestyle you want to live, where you see yourself living, and what your goals are for your family.
So, I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. Seriously, take a minute after this and just roughly estimate what you think your ideal annual expenses would be in retirement. Got a number? Okay. Now, using that 4% rule we just talked about, what is your personal retirement number? Because figuring that out, that is the first and honestly the most powerful step you can take on this entire journey.